Boom, we are live. I still have to change that intro to have more exciting music, but welcome to What the Block. I'm your host, Alon Gorin. We're also now releasing this as a podcast. If you are online, make sure if you're seeing this, the recording live, then welcome. If you're not seeing it live, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and the LinkedIn channel for LA Blockchain Summit so you're notified. And if you're watching this live, you could go to those places and actually comment, and we can bring your comment on screen and all that fun stuff. So join us online at the LA Blockchain Summit channels. Welcome Ziv Keinan to the show. Ziv is one of our portfolio company founders, but even more excitedly, he's one of the pioneers in the digital securities, security token space. Welcome, Ziv.
Thank you, Alon. Pleasure to be here.
Excited to have you, and thank you for being up a little late. You're in Israel, and we're here in the States. But so first off, why don't you give us a little bit of your background, so that the audience knows who you are.
So thanks, Alon. I'll give you, in a short, my background. I was a securities and a corporate lawyer for many years. About 4 years ago, I started my own practice that was focused on fintech and blockchain technology. I immediately started partnering with two other wonderful American lawyers, and we started Security Token Lawyers actually in January 2018. So we had the opportunity to see this industry emerging, actually, from a group of 30 to 50 enthusiastic that thought that all securities will be tokenized, to those big conferences that you were part of and arranging them, actually. And we saw the industry grow until today, basically, where now we have seen the participation of big banks, financial institutions, exchanges all over the world, which are actually adopting this technology. During the years, I've done many blockchain projects. I've been a legal counsel for Ito, one of its leading projects. And I've been the COO of Onera, portfolio company of Draper Going Home, which builds the institutional investment network using DLT technology. And of course, Simetria is also utilizing that network.
Awesome. So speaking of events, I'm going to throw this. I was going to save this for the end, but I'm too excited with all these controls that I have. I'm throwing this up on the screen because I'm very excited that over this year, 2021, we Draper Goren Holm has about 100 events or live things happening where we're going to be talking about different blockchain topics. And the next one actually is security token focused. That's the one in the bottom left corner, Security Token Summit. We're bummed that we can't do it live and in person like we have done in the past, but it's a really, really incredible and exciting event. So make sure you join. Ziv and Onera and Simetria will definitely be there. And I'll give some more plugs to the other events at the end of the show. So Ziv, you're sort of in this industry from the beginning, and you mentioned all securities will be tokenized and digitized, and I think that we all sort of believe in that. I think that when I was raising money for my first startup over 10 years ago, we thought that we were being innovative because I remember I had Sign Now on my phone. Some people were using DocuSign, and I don't know if I printed any of the fundraising docs for the company. Almost every single investor signed digitally, and I signed every doc digitally, and I thought that meant it was a digital security. So I think that there's a wide spectrum of what people think is truly digital and digitized. Can you give a high-level overview of in your mind, what is a security token or what is a digital security?
Yeah, so digital security is basically the same security, just with a digital wrapper. So there's no question whether it's a security or a utility. What we basically did, we look at, and how private markets are behaving right now, which is a very inefficient way. So you mentioned before your fundraising process and how you managed to do the signature digitally. So I think you made the fundraising process a little bit more digital in your case, but the fact is that if you want to transfer a share from one person to another, it will take time, it would take a lot of procedure, it would take a lot of lawyers that would have a lot of things to say, and they would move from one another, asking each other questions and billing you time. And the fact is that if you have a digital security like a digital share, you could treat it like you treat your ETH or your Bitcoin or any other digital asset that you currently hold. And this is the vision that we see for security. We see the vision for security as we see it is that you will have your electronic wallet, and then you will have your Draper Gone Home shares, and then you could also meet your audience and your and the people that you business with that want to take part of Draper Gone Home. And when you want to move a share from one person to the other, it would be as easy as sending an ether from one wallet to another. And of course, when you see this industry at scale, then it means that all trading platform would be digital and would have the same trading standards that you see today from crypto exchange. For example, like the 24/7. When we trade crypto, we tend to forget this is not how exchange work. You go to Israel, for example, the exchange started at 9 a.m. and it's closed about 5. And then, so when you wake up alone, the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange is actually closed. And why is that? If you want to be exposed to that market, if you want to have trades on that market, why it has to be closed? So so some of the standards that we see from the digital asset world would be definitely imported into the securities space. And a lot of processes that are currently done like manually, even like post trading clearance settlements, that would be done also digitally and instantaneously, the way that you trade on crypto exchange, for example.
Yeah, it's wild when you're sort of a digital native. You've been doing securities law for many years. I only got into learning about securities laws because the platform I wanted to launch about 10 years ago was breaking all the securities laws, and so I had to learn about it. But it is for digital native people, it seems absurd that something like a stock exchange could be closed. Like you go online, you open up your Robinhood app or whatever. At 2 a.m, you should be able to buy and sell, and that does happen now. But with when it comes to things with maybe lower liquidity and things like that, stock markets close. There's after.
Yeah, they close. They close on holidays. They close. We had a day where there was an employee strikes in Israel, so they closed the exchange for a whole day. You couldn't exchange shares in Israel because the employee went on strike. So definitely, this there's something has to go. It couldn't stay the way it is right now, right? It's we've seen a new standards, and you're right that the most liquid assets right now are crypto assets, but when it comes to trading securities as well, there's many liquid assets that would enjoy like a 24/7 trading.
Yeah, it's really wild. So there's the part of the 24/7 trading. There's the part that it's digital and more easily transferable. But what about I when I present our fund, a lot of times I talk about our DeFi startups, which are sort of So like I speak like an Israeli when I'm explaining it. I do this with my hands. But in DeFi, you're sort of circumventing regulation and things like that. Not to say that they're doing anything that's fraudulent or anything like that, but they're avoiding regulation. And then in the digital securities or security token idea, which is sort of the other end of the spectrum, is hitting the regulation head on and using technology to streamline that process, make it easier for the companies, make it easier for the investors. But how do you deal with regulation in different jurisdictions? Israel has a different different securities law than the United States versus Canada versus the EU versus Nigeria. So how does digital securities fix this, and how do they deal with that?
So first of all, you're right, about the difference between DeFi and digital securities. It's a very different space. DeFi is running really fast. You couldn't catch me, but eventually, the regulator wake up and they catch it. So like this, and this, the chase begin again. We saw it with the ICO. Then the regulators crack down on ICO, so there's no ICO anymore. With DeFi, we're trying to pretend that it is outside of AML laws and so on. Eventually, the regulators, and we see it in the States, would require every digital wallet to have an AML KYC. Then it's that is out of the door. So this is in security space is really different. The idea of the securities digital security space, basically just taking the old world, and presenting a new paradigm for this for a new world, and the use of the same technology, the same smart contract, and sometimes even the same the same methods that we see. So for example, like the bonding curve that you see on exchange like as Banco, for example, could be used in the equity space and could add a lot of value where there's automatic market making mechanism. This is definitely something which you can import when you have digital securities. Another thing is that we're gonna have very soon, like like Omni, it's called now, like the Libra, the former Libra. So we're gonna have like digital currency. We're gonna have CBDC. And when you have digital currency, then you need assets to interact with those digital currencies. Those are digital shares. And in terms of how we handle with the fragmentation of regulation, which is what you mentioned, where each place has its own. First of all, it's really pretty. Like why can't regulation be harmonious? It's not that the Israeli knows more than the SEC. They're like a Israeli Securities Authority, and I have a lot of the conversation with them about it. Like in the US, the definition of accredited investor is like easier than the definition of accredited investor in Israel. Like accredited investor in Israel has to have a capital of about $3 million, while in the US you had like $1 million, and then you introduce now a new test, like an experience test, and so on. So it is strange that you have this legislation, different legislation in a very global world, and I hope with time it would change. But lawyers know how to handle this. That's what I'm going to say. Like we know how to handle the different legislation in every place. You just need to do like your research very thoroughly. In 2018, there was a company that very well named Spice VC, and when it wanted to offer its securities to many jurisdictions at the same time, then he went to US lawyers, and then to French lawyers, and then to German lawyers, and there's also law firm that knows like the legislation in many other firms, like global law firm, like I don't want to say name, okay? Yeah. but it is overcomable. It's not right. Such an issue.
And I know what's happening behind the scenes with Onera, and I'm sure other groups are thinking about it too. And I know that Simetria is going to be integrated very directly with Onera. So I know that from now, the way it looks like and the way I sort of see it happening. I actually saw Ben Horowitz talk about this from Andreessen, saying the future of blockchain will not be to avoid regulation, but the blockchain will enforce regulation. I reached out to him because I said this already exists now with what's being built with Onera. The idea is that if you want to transfer around the world, you shouldn't have to hire law firms from each place. Your cap table shouldn't be on a spreadsheet. You shouldn't have to go, well, can this Chinese investor participate? Because in my country, I'm only allowed to have a certain number of Chinese investors in my company. All that stuff should be not hard coded, but accessible by the blockchain, so that the blockchain enforces it, and that when I go onto a site, I can even sort only by deals that I'm allowed to participate in. And somebody else who comes to the site, based on their country, based on if they're accredited or not, whether accreditation laws are stupid, and we could talk about that separately, but whether or not you're allowed to participate, you can see the deals, or you can see the deals based on if you're allowed to. And instead of asking your lawyer as an investor if you can participate, and then the startup having to talk to their lawyer to see if you're allowed to invest, the blockchain should be able to deal with this stuff for you, right? That's kind of the whole point of technology and what we were talking about.
Many of those processes can be automated through smart contracts and blockchain technology. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. And so one thing, let's jump in. We've got about 10 more minutes. Let me throw this up again. If you are watching live on one of these places, or on Twitter or anywhere, go to one of these places. Feel free to comment or ask a question, and I'll bring it up and bring it to Ziv. Otherwise, I'm going to keep rocking it. Ziv, now let's jump into Simetria. Tell me more specifically about what Simetria is doing and what you guys are preparing to launch. I know there's some big news next week we can't talk about, but tell me, give me some details. What's special about Simetria here?
Yeah. So, as you know, Simetria mission is to have a digital securities exchange out of Israel. How we came to starting Simetria, it basically started not from us, but from the regulator. We met with the Israeli regulator, the head of the ISA, and we learned there's actually new bill that is going to pass in Israel, which allow for an ATS style license, which you have in the US for many years.
What's an ATS, high level?
An ATS is an alternative trading market, and basically allow for small exchanges to compete with the main, the state exchange. But it also allows for many other operational models, such as liquidity pools and dark pools, and it opens a huge opportunity. And I think like the second thing that's come to mind is that Israel is very interesting right now. It's gone through many changes. It's not only the regulator now that they actually wrote like a report about DLT and blockchain technology and securities, and how can it help the Israeli market. So that's amazing. But except for that, you also have like a huge high-tech market. You have a booming high-tech market. What happened in the last 5 years is out of the scope. We have 50 unicorns in Israel right now, worth about $100 billion. They raised about $50 billion together. And many IPOs that you see right now coming out of Israel, it affects the whole market. It's not only that layer of unicorns. If you go to the layer below, you see like there's many charging ponies, you call them. Like it's like companies that have more than $100 million valuation. So it affects the valuation of the whole market. And it's not only because there's a lot of money in the market, it's also because the environment has changed. The entrepreneurs have changed, and now you have like this is like the second and third timers of entrepreneurs, founders. They founded the first company. I met yesterday with Michael Shaulov from Fireblocks. Okay, so this guy, he founded the company, he sold it to Checkmarks, he founded another company, he sold it. Okay, this is his third company. 5 blocks, and it's going to go high, and there's many companies like this. The founders are mature, they've done exit in the past, and I'm thinking to myself, that this is a huge opportunity to create a marketplace that facilitate those transactions, the flow of cash into those amazing companies, and they also provide a secondary market for entrepreneurs and early investors that just want to sell their shares and meet with some cash, before the company M&A and or exit, which is not the case for most of the companies. Most of the companies do not IPO. This is like less than 1%, and M&A is also not that frequent. So this is like the opportunity, in the Israeli market to start for additional exchange, and we actually are moving to to take this opportunity.
That's exciting. So the idea is secondary markets, which in the United States are very, very inefficient. So for example, I remember years ago people buying and selling shares of Facebook, for example, through I don't remember the exact platforms, but there was sort of like
it was secondary market. Yeah, the name was secondary
market. I actually met one of the ways I met Tim Draper back in the day, or at least his son Adam Draper. Tim introduced me to him was because he was doing something called what was it called? There was it was second market, and then there was like Expert Financial, I think it was called, something like that, and it was a second market competitor. But there is this robust secondary market that's only really available for accredited investors, but like it's all in pieces, places. So people are calling people going, hey, do you have access to this?
That's it. Yeah. I have those, I have this guy selling me Excel sheets every week, selling me, do you want to buy like 30 million of, I don't want to say the name of the company. It's like, it's like that. And there is a huge opportunity in this market, and, even beyond that, so right now, as you said, we have this announcement. I'm not going to, touch it right now, but as I said before, we're gaining a lot of support from the Securities Authority, from the Ministry of Finance, from the Bank of Israel, from all the regulators that are here in Israel. They want to see us succeed, and that backwind would be reflected by certain permits that we will allow to start and operating in Israel and facilitating secondary market. With the prospect of becoming a tech-oriented exchange, an exchange just specialized in tech, and also push ESG investment and green investment, which is something which is very important to us.
I love it. So it's in my mind, it's like the best thing about DeFi and stuff like that is that you sort of have a liquid market, or potentially liquid market for startups, right? Depending on how you look at it, where their jurisdiction, and if the tokens actually are ownership or utility or whatever. But the idea is that there's a liquid startup marketplace, which is so crazy and exciting. And this is the sort of next iteration of the securities-based version of that. And I think that it's inevitable, because at least in the United States, going public it feels next to impossible. It's so expensive. It's so tough. Early employees of companies can hold a piece of paper that's potentially worth millions and millions of dollars, but they can't live day-to-day life because they can't take any money off the table. It's just an interesting and exciting potential there. So I'm excited that Simetria is doing this, and I'll update everyone hopefully by next week at the beginning of this show with the news that Ziv was talking about. Before we head off, Jesse asked a really good question here. He said, what do you think of the digital security space, or what do you think it looks like in 5 years, and any trends that traditional finance or crypto exchanges should be aware of? So Ziv, what do you think? And then I have some feelings here too, but where do you think it looks like in 5 years, and what are the trends?
So 5 years in our space is a long time.
Yeah.
Actually, we could speak about 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years we could have flying cars. I don't know, like technology is moving so fast. But I can tell you like that. From what we are seeing, speaking to Deutsche Börse, Swiss Exchange, Singapore Exchange, speaking to the Nasdaq and other ATSs in the States that just was granted the license to start trading with digital securities, and the fact that now stablecoins are becoming widely accepted also by regulators. Then in the next few years we would definitely see the emerging market of digital currency and digital securities and interaction of those markets. And then this I can go to it, but like there's so many new business models that would emerge out of it. One of the tougher things that you can do in the capital markets is distribution of dividends. Like distribution of dividends sounds simple, but it's so complicated. You need to go to the do the settlements, and there's a set date, and it's distributed automatically. So it's very, very difficult. In the digital space, this is something you can do with the press of the button. Everybody got a digital wallet, and we have digital currency. The digital currency is distributed automatically. So there's so many new business model. The fact, how a digital ETF would look like. That would be, a digital ETF is such an amazing, we had a calls with buddies that specialize in ETFs that are already working on doing a digital ETF. And digital ETF would be automatic. You could interact with it automatic. It doesn't even have to be linked to a specific market. It could be like a website that you just, you identify yourself, and then you can buy and sell through the ETF. So many new business models that could emerge out of this market.
Yeah, I mean, I am seeing, so just going down the path of the trends and things like that, I see meetings happening between the largest banks in the world and these technology providers. And I think that, 5 years, it's hard to say in finance, 5 years is slow. In tech, 5 years feels like forever. But I really believe that we're not going to be talking about digital securities or security tokens in 5 or 10 years. It's just going to be securities, and that's it. It's going to be the same thing. And just like 10 years ago or so, when I was signing documents on DocuSign, and some lawyers were like, "I'm not sure if this is acceptable," which is just ridiculous, right? And it's gonna move that way, and regulators are moving that way and making clear guidance as to what's allowed and what's not. And so I truly believe that what's going to happen is that everything's going to be digitized, everything's going to be easier to trade, it's going to be more efficient, and regulation will have to catch up to it more, and we'll see sort of what happens. But I truly believe we're going to be living in a world where we can have Tim Draper is famous for saying he wants to have a fund that's denominated in Bitcoin, where the investors invest Bitcoin. He invests the Bitcoin in the startups. When the startups pay their employees, they pay them in Bitcoin. And when there's an exit or a distribution, it automatically goes to everybody's wallet digitally. And whether it's Bitcoin or the dollar or some version of a stable coin like the dollar or Ethereum or whatever, I think that is the future. And what's crazy is it's not that far away. With what's being built by Onero, with what's being built by Simetria, by Vertalo's blockchain enabled cap tables, you'll be able to do that now. And so I'm hoping that maybe even our fund or our next fund will be digitized. I'll be able to take in Bitcoin or dollars or whatever. I'll be able to distribute the dividends and the distributions directly without calling Ziv, saying, "Hey Ziv, we're going to do a distribution. It's going to be $1 million. Can you send me the latest cap table of our investors so I can figure out if anything has changed before I do the distribution," and then have the fund administrator write separate checks or wire transfers to every single person. And in that world, there's like 5 or 6 or 7 people that are going to have to deal with this one by one by one. I have to get the distribution first from the startup who has to do this. Then when I get it, I'm gonna have to send it forward, and all of these things are just so inefficient, and they get in the way of people working and getting shit done and innovating. So I think it's going to happen. Ziv, give people where they can find you. Any last words? Thanks. We get for everyone who's commenting live, and then I'll do a little, a few plugs.
So, first of all, thank you for, bringing me today. It was really fun speaking about the stuff, I can do, I can go on all day. I just want to say, Alon, you and I, we have the first mover advantage here in this space. And it's not easy all the time, being the first. For some people that they would rather things to be the way they are, but I think that this space has been rewarding for everybody that's that was the first mover, and I encourage other people to join. Best way to keep in touch with me is through LinkedIn. Go to my LinkedIn page at Ziv Keinan on LinkedIn, and I can also put my email here in the chat below, and people could reach out to me. Yep, and that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you, Ziv. Before we go, I didn't create a graphic for this. I forgot to, but we're doing this as a podcast now, and it should be everywhere now. So Apple Podcasts and Stitcher and everywhere else. So if you prefer podcast versions and listening to us instead of seeing our beautiful faces, make sure to subscribe there. Make sure to subscribe to the LA Blockchain YouTube channel and LinkedIn page, so that you get notifications for when we go live every Friday morning. And then remember, go to drapergorenhome.com. We're an early stage blockchain fund and venture studio, and we do tons and tons of events. So on the bottom left, you'll see the next big event, Security Token Summit. But our big annual event, LA Blockchain Summit, was just seen by over 40,000 people live, and we more than doubled that probably in the reruns of all the panels and sessions. Global DeFi Summit this year, and then every Tuesday night, Adam hosts Blockchain and Booze, which is so much fun. You meet some of the top people in the space, and some of them get really silly when they drink, but it's also very, very insightful and fun. So thank you, Ziv. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This was, I called it episode 1. It's the second episode. We started at episode 0, like you do on the blockchain. And thank you. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Bye-bye.